the detractors and the PDP and his people, perhaps that's what they went to the US for, when they pretended that they went to for high-level engagement. This is part of the high-level engagement. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not even a defendant in that case.
Yes, my people, as it is hot, it don't happen. No, my obedient family just they share this video because this video it don't open APC yansh and it don't open Tinubu yansh. Yes, because US courts they don't release certified true copies of Tinubu drug dealing and money laundering in Chicago. Now, this man, when they call this Ikeyamo, now I want me the obedient family descend on this money. Yes, and please, obedient family, just they share this video because secrets don't fall out. Because this man now they call Keyamo say Tinubu not be defendant for that case. And true, the copy come outside, the country say Tinubu not defendant for that case. And this man just a lie with his full chest. Make una expose this man by sharing this video. Make them know say APC always they tell Nigerians all na lie. For this man to fit put hand for chest, they lie say Tinubu not be defendant. That means say this their manifesto when they defend with their full power. So this their manifesto all na fake. Make I not talk too much on business family. Please comment your opinion for the comment section because wetin they accuse this man put and with the papers when they grant. Make una see judge this case for the comment section. Comment your opinion.
The detractors and the PDP and his people, perhaps that's what they went to the US for, when they pretended that they went to for high-level engagement. This is part of the high-level engagement they went for, just to go and deceive Nigerians and bring out washed-out papers that are totally dead as dodo. They are not freshly issued. They have just been certified by the US court. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not even a defendant in that case. That will shock you, right? It will shock you. But go back to the documents. It was an action in rem, not an action in personam.
And the reasons why we are having this conversation is for Nigerians who will decide to be able to know who they are voting for. Now, and I've allowed you to explain the ramifications, not thinking that you're talking to me directly, you're talking to Nigerians. But first and foremost, I'd like to ask you some very quick questions. First and foremost, were the account numbers involved that of Bola Tinubu?
Yes, not only him, companies were linked to, and his relatives. People should take note of that. His relatives.
All right.
Including his mother, including his aged mother, that Elijah Bogaji. So what do you want to do? You want to link her to what?
I said, just a moment, Senior Advocate. I said I have quick questions, and I like you because it's the background to the next questions. I mean, the series of questions I'm going to ask you. Did Bola Tinubu contest or concede ownership of the account numbers?
He did not. He actually owned up to them at a point when they were calling him on phone. If you look at the affidavit of Kevin Moss, perhaps he skipped one or two accounts who were in the UK. Yes.
Would you liken the settlement that Bola Tinubu had with the court in the United States at the time over these monies as a sort of a plea bargain?
No. A plea bargain, you cannot build something on nothing and expect it to stand. A plea bargain must arise out of a criminal charge. Like I said, there's no charge, nothing anywhere, nothing like a charge anywhere. All he did, in fact, if you look at that, let me just refer you to it. Shehu, this is for just a moment. You established for 30 seconds. That there was a forfeiture. Just for a moment. You established that there was a forfeiture. But if there was a forfeiture that was made, and that kind of forfeiture is still subsistent, and it has a criminal nature, that has not been set aside up to date. No. A forfeiture, you see, that's why I said you should take a paper and a biro. This is a lecture class for you. A forfeiture is not something hanging on your neck. It's a permanent settlement, and everybody will shake your hands and go your way. Now, look at that settlement signed by the counsel to Asiwaju then and the counsel to the state, to the United States. I want you to look at paragraph 6, page 2 of that settlement. I refer you again, paragraph 6, page 2 of the settlement signed. In that paragraph 6, they were even begging Asiwaju. They said that, look, please don't proceed against us again.
I am allowing you to explain, and this is a very serious matter.
Yes.
It's not about me. So, I mean, you kept repeating, take a pen and paper. You are speaking to millions of Nigerians.
No.
And I want you to be, to take cognizance of the fact that the sensibilities of millions of Nigerians are in this matter that you're speaking with. So I don't want us to take it lightly at all. So you're not speaking to me, you're speaking to Nigerians of which you have come to equity and you're explaining to them what these matters are. Right? And perhaps They may probably would have wanted to even hear directly from the man in question, your presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu. But there's a fundamental question on the source of the money he deposited, of which he reached a settlement. Has he given a satisfactory explanation of the source of the funds?
Well, thank you so much. Now, at that point, the burden was on the prosecution in the US, or from the states in the US, to prove that the funds were proceeds of narcotics. Now, that is, if you look at paragraph, I want you to go to paragraph 2 of the affidavit of Kevin Moss. He kept saying that it was his reasonable suspicion. It was like probable cause, probable belief. It was speculative. All it was speculative. They had not come to a definite conclusion. Let me tell you what happened. Now, if you see the whole gamut of that affidavit, it was more or less like, well, you know, it happens to all of us, Nigerians. You go to a new land, you go to a new place abroad. Any Nigerian you see, especially from your own tribe, they become like brothers to you. You associate with them, you visit them. You may do 1 or 2 transactions. You may not exactly know what they are involved in. You may not know what they are involved in. It happens to all of us. And you can see that the whole of that investigation actually touched on 2 or 3 Nigerians. So let me admit that. That had nothing to do with Asiwaju. And I don't want to mention their names here. People should go and read it, but because they have families in Nigeria. The other Nigerians, two of them, who were actually linked to narcotics. One of them was actually arrested. That one made confessional statements and confessed another Nigerian as the one involved. But that principal suspect, read that affidavit, never mentioned the name of Asiwaju. What happened? Asiwaju went to open an account. The address by which he opened the account was an address already, you know, used by these people. I think some block of flats. Maybe he happened to be in that block of flats too.
I want to be
honest. That's why I'm going about it and explain it.
Just a moment. Let me push the question so that you can put it together.
Yes.
The version of the story you're saying tonight, and for those who are a bit more privy to what really happened, there are allegations, and I don't know if you are aware, that your principal was a member of a drug cartel for which is said to, in fact, they say he was a treasurer. And I was asking you about the source because this is going to premise the question I'm going to ask next. So I'd like you to also be careful in the answer so that my next question might be favorably answered too. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Please do not deviate from the affidavit. I want everybody to fact check the 2 of us. There was no, they never mentioned him as a treasurer. They said he was treasurer of Mobile. They never said he was treasurer of any narcotics group. What they said was that he was found to have worked for an organization owned by the people they were investigating. That he worked for that organization, that distribution organization. He worked for them without going into details, without having any proof of it. I'm very careful about the phrase that was used in that affidavit by Kevin Moss. Because you see, with a trained eye and the trained eye of a prosecutor, I read every line one by one. I've done this more than 10 years ago and came to the conclusion that Asiwaju had nothing to do with this. Let me explain to you, because as a prosecutor, you do that in a sweeping manner. When you are investigating a crime, anybody linked in terms of transfer of funds to and fro from the person's account to your account, as a standard procedure, they will investigate everybody who paid money into and withdrew money from that account. It's standard procedure. But after all of it, they will now let me
then push this here. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Senior Advocate, let me refer you to section 137 of the Constitution 1D, subsection 1D, which says that a person under a sentence of imprisonment or fine for any offense involving dishonesty or fraud by whatever name it's called, or for any other offenses imposed on him by any court or tribunal shall not be qualified to contest for the office of the President of Nigeria. In view of the forfeiture and the settlement that Bola Tinubu had in the United States, as a senior advocate of Nigeria, what are the legal implications of that circumstance, considering the section 137, subsection 1D of the Constitution?
Well, forfeiture is not a fine, I don't want to refer to you again. When I say I'm educating, this is like a class we are having. But I don't, for all those who think, for law students everywhere, who think forfeiture is a fine. Fine is a punishment. Fine is a consequence of a conviction. Fine is a consequence of a criminal trial. So fine has nothing to do with forfeiture. Forfeiture is a civil process. It's a complete civil process to say, well, we are not even going into trial at all. The state goes into forfeiture proceedings with individuals just for the purpose of getting their monies. It does not mean you have committed a crime. You may have not fulfilled your obligation as a citizen regarding financial payment, just like tax.
Well, let me allow you to listen to two lawyers. First is Dele Farotimi, and I'd like you to listen and react to the perspective they have on this Bola Tinubu matter.
The man is an indicted drug money launderer is not in argument, but convicted. No, I don't believe that is the case. There is an indictment and there is money forfeiture based on a no contest plea by Mr. Tinubu himself, but he didn't go as far as a conviction as far as I can tell. You can't look at this in isolation. And I say you can't look at this in isolation, especially in the light of what the High Court just said, that the man has to come and defend the case in the High Court here, seeking to disqualify him. There are plethora of allegations sufficient to have allowed any right-thinking person to have withdrawn from the race. But the man has persisted. So if we are now dealing with legalese, which is different from morality, if we're dealing with legalese, the reality is that you cannot ask him not to run solely on the basis of an indictment to which he had pleaded no contest. If you're looking at the issue of certificates, forgeries, the issue of a lack of provenance or pedigree, where did the man go to secondary school, primary school, what happened in the first years of his life, like he disappeared, like Jesus disappeared for the first 12 years, those are valid questions, but they can only relate to morality. They are not issues of legality. It is we as the people who have to decide whether that is a character that we want representing us as a collective, as a people. Is that the Nigerian president? That is the point because if we pretend not to know, the rest of the world are well aware of what we are fooling ourselves not to see. So it's a function of moral suasion. If people are persuaded that they have no problem with having a person of questionable character as the president, that's their call, really. That's sometimes the ugliness of democracy. But when it comes to the issue of if that is sufficient as a bar, I do not believe it is.
Well, that's Mr. Dele Farotimi. Let me allow you, Mr. Keyamo, to react briefly to what Mr. Farotimi said. There is another view that I would like you to listen to also. Mr. Keyamo.
I wish you brought a more neutral opinion. That's that individual, I think he speaks for the Labour Party, so they are our rivals. But his opinion really, well, he got half of it right to say there's no conviction. But he went off again the rail when he said there was an indictment. There cannot be an indictment if Asiwaju is not a defendant or was not a defendant to that case. I repeat it for the opt-in time. I don't want to sound like a broken record here. Asiwaju was not a party to that case. He was not. He was not a defendant to that case.
Just a moment. You're saying forfeiture is not a punishment. But don't you think that it's a penalty? I mean, for you to forfeit, is it not a penalty?
No. Penalty is when they take something belonging to you and they say, look, they are imposing a fine or penalty on you. Forfeiture is that, look, this thing we think is our tax. Look at paragraph 38 now. They say it's tax. What belongs to them, they are just taking out. So you can go. They just took what belongs to them.
So I'd like to ask you again, Mr. Keyamo.
Yes.
At this period in time when this case was heard, was it the period at all that Bola Tinubu was in office? Was this period, does it cross into any time that he was in office?
No, it was not.
Okay.
It was not in office.
I'll allow you again to listen to yet another view on this one. You've dismissed that one. Although I don't agree with you on the matter that the forfeiture is in any way. So if it's not a punishment, a penalty, what exactly is it? Is it a praise singing or what exactly would you describe it? Well, I'll allow you to respond after you listen to Anthony Ehilebo, who is also a lawyer or a member of the PDP.
You know the cause and effect of the particular kind of drug that is mentioned in this case. Heroin is a class A drug. There's almost no comeback from it for addicts. Addicts are usually known to die, and then there's a high death rate amongst users. So we're looking at an offense or perhaps a crime that has devastated and destroyed a lot of lives. I personally think that this is one scandal too many. I mean, there was an attempt by the director of new media, Femi Fani-Kayode, of the Asiwaju Tinubu campaign organization to make a rebuttal. And quite frankly, anybody needed to do was to go back to his time as a member of the Presidential Campaign Council of the PDP, where he had brought up these same allegations. So it's a lingering one, and it's more poignant now that we now have certified true copies of the court's documents that indicted this man a while back. And it speaks to the character of who would want to be the president of Nigeria. I'm sure we're sticking to facts, so we will not delve into the realm of the causatory exploration that the now very popular Lone Ranger journalist, David Hundeyin, has gone through in terms of trying to even bring it back to Nigeria and show some sort of linkage with known drug dealers in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, as we wrap up now, I'd like you to respond to that. But also, perhaps I should read the meaning of forfeiture. Part of the dictionary meaning of forfeiture is the loss or giving up of something as a penalty for wrongdoing. In the United States, in the dimension of what you have explained tonight is criminal in nature. But let me allow you to, as we wrap up, let me allow you to respond to that, because Nigerians are the judge of whatever you're saying tonight.
Sharon, that's why I said if you bring yourself into the issue, you said you were not bring yourself, you are expressing your personal opinion. You say you don't agree with me. That's why I said you should take a paper and a biro, because you are talking with a prosecutor of more than a decade.
The meaning
of the best of the best insurance in Nigeria. So that's why I said if you are bringing yourself into the picture, take a paper and a biro, and I will lecture you on this.
Just
now I'll go to answer your question. Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question.
Just a moment.
Because you are interposing your opinion. No, you are interposing your opinion. If you want to interpose your opinion, come and sit down here. You're arguing with me.
No.
You are not asking questions. You're arguing with me. But you are arguing with me. You are not asking the question.
What the dictionary says is different.
So the dictionary definition is different from legal definition. You see, that's why I said I should lecture you. You cannot read a dictionary definition to legal terms. Those who know legal terms know that the dictionary definition don't apply to legal terms. Well, let me explain to you, please. Don't bring yourself into the issue. I will lecture you on this. Now, let me be clear about this. Yes, let me be clear about this. What the other person said, the last person said, what the last person said is completely even off the mark. The earlier individual, the earlier person you mentioned, you played his tape, was even making more sense. This one totally went off the rail. He was talking about the effect of heroin and the effect of... What has that got to do with what we are saying about? You are even crossing... He's coming to the conclusion before even reaching the process to get to the conclusion. Who is talking about the type of narcotics or the type of heroin? So I have no response to that last individual. He went totally off the mark. But let me say this clearly, Sheung, that I will repeat it for the opt-in time. And like I said, I apologize for being immodest, but I had to stake my reputation, stake my career, stake my years of experience as a prosecutor, stake all my years in practice. I'm not a property lawyer. I was a practitioner and a prosecutor. And all my records are there to see. And I'm telling you confidently, there is nothing in these documents, nothing in these papers that indict Asiwaju, that brings a criminal charge against him, that even finds a criminal charge against him. That the foundation upon which any plea bargain or any kind of fine was reached, there was nothing like that. In fact, this one, I just know that he was being vilified unfairly, he has been accused unfairly, and I'm happy these things came out, so that Nigerians will even see it for what it is. He was never a defendant in that case. Read it again, look at all the papers. Asiwaju was never a defendant. It was the accounts that were attached, not him as a person.